Okay, I'm going to call order the April 1st. This is no joke. April 1st regular city council meeting. And would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran. Here. Councilmember Gonzalez. Here. Councilmember Hamrick.
Here.
Councilmember Jaquez.
Here.
Councilmember Meisner.
Here.
Councilmember Turner. Absent. Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Mayor Troutman.
Here. Okay, let's have Greg Swearingen, the Royal Gorge Vineyard, come forward for the invocation. Would you please rise?
Lord, we're just so grateful for this city, and we just ask your continued blessing upon it. Continue to stretch out your arm and show favor to this city, Lord. Lord, I also just pray for every church in town that you would continue to grow them, that they would continue to show your love. And Lord, I pray that this city be a city of light. And we ask that you would continue to bless Loaves and Fishes and Journey Home and New Creations Inn and this homeless coalition, Lord. We just ask your favor in these areas of people reaching out and trying to make this a great city. We thank you for this council tonight, and we ask to give them wisdom and direction on the decisions they make for this great city. In your name, amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Usually we usually have the 15 minutes for anything, any person would like to talk to council on an item that is not on the agenda. If you would like to come to the microphone, we usually have the first 15 minutes, as I said, and we'd just like to know who you are. If not, okay. I do have two people that have signed up. If you'd like to sign up to talk about a topic we're going to talk about, we need to have you fill out one of these forms and give it to our city clerk, Cindy. I have two of those. We'll cover those when we get to there. Okay. Are there any announcements from City Council?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez, I saw your hand first.
So I just want to say a thank you because my daughter came home last week. She's 10 and in 4th grade. And she came home with a very large book in her backpack. And I thought, what is this? She pulled it out and it was a dictionary. And it was donated from the Rotary Club and several other entities in town. And I just wanted to thank them for putting that out there for these children because it's so hard to get them to open a book once in a while, and it was really interesting. We got to sit down and just kind of look through it, and I showed her how to use it. So it was just kind of bringing back some of the important aspects of our history to be able to put those in the hands of our children. So.
No, that's great. It wasn't electronic then, huh?
No, it was not electronic, but
Okay.
But it was very costly.
Yeah.
$6,000 to put those out.
Wow, that's
So-
great. Great.
And then I wanted to thank Ashley for her letter that she put out to the editor, just reminding us how important our community is after kind of the lull after the small business revolution, just kind of reminding us all why we started it in the first place. So thank you.
Oh, well, the thanks goes to all of Canyon City because it doesn't matter where we go, there's a meeting and everyone says, we have so much potential. We've proven to ourselves that we can do great things, and I think we will see a lot of great things happen in Canyon City. So thanks goes to all of our residents.
Yes, thank you again. Mr. Hamrick?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, there was a meeting at the FED Tech Start facility in Canyon City at the historic Apex building on downtown Main Street. It was a pretty exciting meeting to attend. The mayor was there, I was there. Other people that were there were represented the Upper Arkansas technology sector. There were business speakers there, including from River Science, including from the TechStart and P-Tech intern program. There was a presentation on the P-Tech Pathways and Technology interns. Also, there was a presentation by the Second 61, which is a possible business that may be coming here, and Unbridled was there also. But Chaffee County Economic Development Council President was there. Custer County Economic Development Council President was there. The Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade had representatives there, as well as many other peoples from government and quasi-government organizations within our community. And it was very exciting to hear about the momentum that this group has created here in Canyon City. And it's my belief that we're going to see some pretty good job growth and some high salary people coming to this town, which is exciting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hamrick. Mr. Meisner? Did you raise your hand or anything?
I didn't even use my button.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? Any other announcements? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I have a few announcements. Last Tuesday, council members Hamrick, Meisner, and we all attended the Community Recreation Center meeting, and we really have a great community forum for seeking a community recreation center. We are looking towards November of 2020 to go to an election for that, and they're ready to take the reins and really start taking that lead to push for that. Of course, with the support from the city and our staff, and I'd like to thank Dina Svetlik and Ryan Stevens for participating in that meeting as well. We also, this morning, I met with the BLM, the county, and UCOG, and we were discussing a lot of the problems that we are having with illegal dumping at our mountain parks and city and other properties, and looking at ways that we can work and collaborate together to find some solutions and pool our resources. It was a really productive meeting, and look forward to some more of those conversations. Tomorrow morning, we have the radio KRLN. I'd like to invite any council members who are available with their schedules to join us.
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, Wednesday. So Wednesday that morning, and then the afternoon, we have general government. We'll be discussing potential future uses for Gus's Constantino's property on South First Street, as well as the Colorado Legacy Land Cleanup Program. And then I wanted to confirm with you, Tony, Harry Patel's retirement party this Friday. Is that right?
At 2 p.m.
So Harry, we're going to have a
Right
grand
here.
chance to say goodbye to Harry at his retirement party.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, Wednesday, the county mayors meet once a month. There's 6 of us, and most of them attend. And today, this week, it will be, this month will be at Canyon City Hall. And Harry, I don't know if you can do that. It's been 22 years. It's kind of like that chair, and you can't go, can you? What will I do? What will we do? We may spend money frivolously.
There's always somebody.
There's always somebody. I do thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I've known you for a long time, and I respect you a great deal, and we will miss you. But I know.
Also wants to thank to the community, those who trust me over these 22 years. I worked for 6, mayor and city council, and 4 city administrator, and we had always a great relation. And thank you for trusting me what I am providing you. And we are progressing every year, and that's the good news. And I think I wish that will continue forever.
You'll be watching over, of course.
I will be watching.
I can't get away with anything. Anyone else? Okay, this time, with great sadness, I would like to ask if, after I read this, Complex Captain Benjamin Valley, Complex Captain FCC Florence, passed away on Tuesday, March the 19th, 2019. Ben worked at numerous locations throughout his 23-year career with the Bureau of Prisons. He served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, And Benjamin is survived by 3 adult children, an 8-year-old son and his father. Please keep his family and FCC Florence staff in your thoughts and prayers. Could we have a moment of silence at this time? Thank you. Also, I have 2 proclamations. Should I do them now, Cindy? Okay. A proclamation for Start by Believing Day. Whereas the City of Canyon City shares a critical concern for victims of sexual violence and a desire to support their needs for justice and healing, and whereas in 2018, the Canyon City Police Department received a total of 65 reports of sexual assault, St. Thomas More Hospital completed 55 sexual assault forensic examinations, and the Victims Advocacy Center served the needs of victims during 37 crisis interventions, 112 follow-up sessions, law enforcement interviews, or other proceedings, and whereas current estimates suggest as few as 1 in 5 sexual assaults will be reported to law enforcement, and less than 3% will result in the conviction and incarceration of the perpetrator. And whereas research documents that victims are far more likely to disclose their sexual assault to a friend or family member, when these loved ones respond with doubt, shame, or blame, victims suffer additional negative effects on their physical and psychological well-being. And whereas the Start by Believing Public Awareness Campaign, a program to end violence against women international, is designed to improve the response of friends, family members, and community professionals so they can help victims to access supportive resources and engage the criminal justice system. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Canyon City that by support the Start by Believing Public Awareness Campaign, Start by Believing Public Awareness Campaign, and to hereby declare Wednesday, April 16, 2019, to be Start by Believing Day, signed by myself, the mayor. And Rosalind, would you like to give us your name and comments?
Yes, my name is Rosalind Walker. I'm the coordinator of the forensic nurses at the hospital, and I'm also the chair of the multi-agency sexual assault response team for Fremont and Custer counties. And I want to thank you, Mayor Troutman and council members, for supporting this campaign and making this proclamation. And proud to announce to you that all of the agencies involved in our community have come together to form a multi-agency public service announcement video that we're going to be launching this Saturday on Start by Believing Day at the Take Back the Night event. And we would like to invite Mayor Troutman, or if you're not available, another member of council to read the proclamation there at the time that we debut the video.
Okay. And you have that date again?
It's this Saturday, April 6th.
Okay. At what time?
This Saturday, April 6th.
What time would you like?
Oh, I'm
me-
sorry. 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have another proclamation. Whereas April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in the city of Canyon City, and whereas every day women, men, and children across Colorado suffer the pain and trauma of sexual assault upon survivors and other communities, and whereas this crime occurs far too frequently, goes unreported far too often, and leaves long-lasting physical and emotional scars. Whereas during National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we recommit ourselves to lifting the veil of secrecy and shame surrounding sexual violence, expanding support for victims, and strengthening our response. And whereas sexual violence affects individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and circumstances, and whereas as a community, we share the responsibility for protecting each other from sexual assault, supporting victims when it does occur, and bringing perpetrators to justice. And whereas at every level, we must work to provide necessary resources to victims of every circumstance, including medical attention, mental health services, relocation, and housing assistance and advocacy during the criminal justice process. And whereas the City of Canyon City can come together to increase awareness about sexual violence, decrease its frequency, hold offenders accountable, support victims, and heal lives. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the month of April 2019 is hereby designated as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Canyon City, and hereby urge the community to work together to educate themselves about sexual violence and prevention, to support survivors and speak out against harmful attitudes and actions. Signed by me, the mayor, as today, April 1st. Rosalind, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, so thank you for this proclamation supporting the entire month of April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And another activity that we're doing as part of this is some of the local service providers who care for survivors of sexual assault are writing guest news pieces in the Daily Record. And it's kicking off with an article that Carrie Canterbury is writing, and then we're going to have guest writers writing about the dynamics of sexual assault in our community in an effort to spread awareness. So we really appreciate your support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Rosalind for your work and your passion and the contributions you've made to our community. And it's obviously, I also want to point out that it's beyond the recognition of the City Council, that Rosalind also was selected as 2019's top honoree for Fremont's Exceptional Women and for her work with sexual assault. And so obviously she's continuing to do great things. And I know that the paper would like to get a picture with Rosalind and the City Council together.
Okay.
If we can do that.
Would you do that right now?
Thank you.
Down in front?
Should I hold this?
Okay, somehow I thought we were talking about stormwater this evening, but that was taken off, so I held off Dennis Weed's request to talk about the stormwater fees. So at this time, Dennis, would you like to present your comments regarding stormwater fees?
Good evening. Ready? Go. Thanks for listening to me. A month ago, Dennis Weed, I resident of Canyon City. I own a couple of businesses here, and not too long ago, I was sitting up there. But a month ago, so this council, and specifically 4 members of this council, made a decision to reject a modification of the stormwater fee, giving credit to businesses that were employing best management practices. Would have been here last meeting, but I was out of town. But I did submit a letter to the editor right after that. I'm going to read an edited version of what was in the paper, which was an edited version of what I submitted. It basically starts off with, you know, council does a great job taking care of everybody except business. Then I went on to say, it is okay with council that the businesses of Canyon City generate nearly 2/3 of the city's $12 million general fund dollars by the sales tax they produce. It's okay that the commercial property owners pay more than 4 times the property tax for identically valued residential property. It's okay that the 855 commercial property owners pay more in school district taxes than the 16,000 residents and the 5,426 residential properties combined. It's okay that the 855 businesses pay more property taxes than the 5,426 residences. And it's okay that businesses had to absorb a 50% increase in the minimum wage. It's okay that the 855 businesses pay 53% of the stormwater fee, even though they only make up 1/3 of the impervious surface in the city. And it's okay that 48 of these 855 businesses were required to build best management practice facilities at their properties at our own expense and inconvenience to contain stormwater. And it's okay that 2 of these were required to dedicate land to build a retention facility from which no stormwater flows and contributes nothing to stormwater. And it's okay that it's a common practice in Colorado to have stormwater credit policies for properties that employ best management practices. And it's okay that half of Colorado cities and most of the Front Range cities offer credits for those. But apparently it's not okay to recognize the properties in Canyon City that employ best management practices and give those businesses a credit. And it's not okay to give credit where credit's due. You know, and I understand businesses don't vote. You don't get elected by businesses. You get elected by citizens. I had proposed a 2-tiered stormwater structure that divided the stormwater fees into a per parcel fee and a stormwater and an impervious surface-based fee. And I'm going to request that you reconsider that. And the proposal specifically dealt with back 12 years ago or whatever, as the city passed a stormwater fee that I had always thought was go to build the war chest. Anyhow, that entire fund is being used for administrative costs. Those administrative costs should be distributed equally among all property owners and not dumped on the businesses. It's you're killing the golden goose that lays the golden eggs, and you've about milked the cow dry, and we're tired. Thanks.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Weed?
I think just a clarification that the stormwater fees does not 100% go only to administration costs. It covers a variety of mitigation for clean water required by the EPA.
Those are all administrative costs, though.
Well, no, that actually involves getting out, street sweeping, cleaning, and making sure, ensuring that there is clean water.
It's not being used to fund stormwater projects, which is what my understanding was the original stormwater fee was for. Nothing is going to fund stormwater
Well, the original
projects.
stormwater fee was designated for that, but it was underfunded from the birth of that fee, so it never was sufficient. Unfortunately, I wish it had been. It would have solved a lot of our problems today, including yours.
Yeah, well, the stormwater fee was diverted from its original intent. I was on the city council when that stormwater fee was passed, and I've heard different stories, but I assure you that stormwater fee was dedicated to building a fund to treat and deal with stormwater projects, not day-to-day routine mowing of detention ponds. And it wasn't intended to pay for the MS4 compliance issues. Some of it, yes, but not 100% of it. And none of it is going to stormwater projects now. And my complaint is not that that's what's happening. My complaint is that you just keep dumping it on businesses who already are dumped on. And quite frankly, I'm really disappointed with the 4 of you who voted against it. I mean, that was a compromise to start with. It's a compromise from what I thought, and I think other people agree with me, it was a very real, very fair approach to dealing with stormwater fees. And the fact that it was rejected, the question wasn't, really, the question at that council meeting a month ago wasn't whether it was going to be approved, it was what was going to be the amount of the credit. And it never got past, it's like, the hell with you guys. Which is really, really frustrating. And as a business owner, I know I speak for a lot of businesses in town, that we take the burden of funding this city. And everybody is part of this stormwater thing, and everybody needs to contribute, not just the businesses. There's 7 times as many residential property owners as there are businesses, and they need to step up and put some of the bill. But anyhow, I'm way over my time.
All right.
I'm out of here.
I have a
Thanks,
question for Mr. Weed.
Go ahead.
Dennis?
So I realize you were unable to attend the meeting, but did you watch the conversation that occurred?
Turns out I was at the meeting.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Okay. So you did hear the conversation about how businesses generate revenue, whereas residences do not, and there is a cost of doing business in any city, and that was kind of why the decision was made the way it was, not just to stick a needle in the eye of business owners. You heard all that conversation?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I found it condescending. There's a cost of doing business.
And you're essentially
it's not-
robbing Peter to pay Paul because you're taking that money from the residences.
No, you're taking the money from the businesses. And it's condescending to say that.
If the credit were to pass, you would be taking money from the residences to give to the businesses.
Okay, you can look at it that way if you'd like. That's not, it was unfair in the way it was set up initially. You were fixing a faulty program.
Okay. And that was set up by previous councils, of which
Yeah.
you attended.
Yes.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay? Who, what?
I don't have no questions of Dennis, but I want to make a comment, okay? And this is kind of with regards to the statement that Dennis made when he says that we more or less just said, the hell with it, and did what we wanted to do. This council has went over the stormwater for years and years and talked to everybody. We've revised things over and over and everything else. We listened to everybody else. But ultimately, we never said the hell with it to anybody. And I resent that comment that he made. This council looked at it, they studied it, and they did what we felt we had to do with regards to our job and our responsibility as council members. And that's what we took into consideration over everything else, and that's how, in a sense, I voted. And I don't care for a comment back from Mr. Weed, okay? This was just my comment with regards to, I was offended with your usage of the word, we said the hell with it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's go on. All right, let's move on. We are going to ask the city administrator to review the consent agenda items.
Yes, 7A would be approval of minutes of the special city council meetings of January the 16th, March the 4th, March 22nd, March 25th, and the Vision Committee meeting of March 20th. 7B would appoint at least 2 city council members to serve on the project team for the US 50 West Access Control Plan. Just want to make a note, and I think we indicated in the memo, there's a whole series of meetings, and we seriously doubt any 2 members could attend those all. We might want to suggest that you can appoint, or all of you could attend, as long as no more than 2 attended an individual meeting, because there's going to be a host of these meetings, and there's no reason why you can't get a sampling of those meetings, and just work with the staff, particularly Adam, in scheduling when those meetings were. We'll try to accommodate your schedules as much as possible.
Well, can't we just publicize those meetings and we don't have to worry about that stupid law?
Well, might be an issue with CDOT and the private
I don't
property
care.
owners.
I don't care.
Okay.
I think we should go ahead and publish the meeting. I think it's an asinine law, in my opinion, so my comment. Continue.
Appreciate it. 7C would authorize the mayor to sign a a contract with the Canyon City Chamber of Commerce for the tourism service provided at Veterans Park at the Visitors Cabin and the Peabody House for $31,000. The Peabody House, and Councilmember Meisner made a valid point. The language for the actual operating hours are not in agreement, and they should be, so I would suggest that maybe someone make a motion after the consent agenda to include that the Peabody House would be open from 9 to 4, Monday through Friday throughout this period. The cabin would be available 7 days a week from 8 to 5, including the holidays of Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day. So that should be reflected in the actual agreement. 7D would authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Logan Associates for the 2018 2A street improvement audit in the amount of $3,000. I know in the past there's been some confusion, perhaps, on what the nature of that audit is supposed to include. Harry made it crystal clear from the ballot language, the audit is supposed to focus on whether the city has spent any of the 2A proceeds for city personnel or purchase of equipment. Now, if you want to expand that scope to be a more truly financial analysis, we could do that. We believe that's covered under our comprehensive annual audit, but if you want to double up, but we'd have to reflect that and get back with the auditors to expand their scope of services. If you want a separate accounting, which Councilmember Meisner has requested, where all revenue and expenditures are accounted for as only being spent on the 2A reconstruction. So you might want to think about that.
Yes. Go ahead.
7E would authorize the city administrator to purchase a mobile shower unit for servicing homeless individuals and families from Showers with Love, a Colorado Springs organization, for $30,000, and to donate an existing city 3/4-ton Suburban, which is surplus, to Fremont County to actually tow this shower unit after about $1,300 worth of tow packages have been installed on it and some labor to implement this new mobile shower service within Fremont County and within the city for these individuals. We particularly want to recognize Councilmember Ashley Smith, who really has spearheaded this. This was an effort to try to address homeless during the winter. Unfortunately, we couldn't initiate any programs, but this is truly a long-term solution to a critical problem listed as one of the 3 priorities of the homeless in the annual point-in-time survey, so we'll go a long way to addressing their concerns. 7F would authorize city administrator to sign a contract with Johnson's Canine for a multi-purpose Belgian Malinois and associated equipment in the amount of $12,000. The dog, or police dog's name, will be Merlin, as in the magician, and he would be both a narcotics dog and a dog that would apprehend perpetrators of crime. So he has a multi-purpose, which is unusual. You know, unlike a sleepy lab dog that is just a drug dog. 7G would authorize the city minister to sign a contract with Axon for police body cameras and such equipment in the amount of $24,931. The chief discussed and got quotes from 3 entities, Motorola, Axon, and Utility. One of the key elements here was integration with our existing evidence system, and only Axon could demonstrate they could have seamless integration with our new evidence system, which you purchased earlier this year. They also have the unique ability, because they produce the TASER, which you're quite familiar with, as far as determining when it's used and the duration of its use, and that's been important, particularly in civil lawsuits filed against police departments around the country. So we thought that was a critical component. H would award the bid for the Main Street water replacement to Avalanche Excavating, a Canyon City business, for $487,973. Also the award of bid number 2319, which is for South 4th Street and Myrtle Avenue, water replacement, again to Avalanche Excavation, in the amount of $591,537,000. Combined, those projects are slightly above our $1 million, but that also reflects contingency, and we think that this project will come in within that scope. We also have a major project, the 5 a million-gallon tank out in 4 Mile that has to get refurbished. That we probably, if anything, have over budgeted for that. So we think if there is a need for any potential savings, we could achieve it in that project. But these would be important projects. And then they'll be followed up with, of course, the 2A road reconstruction right afterwards. 7G would authorize the purchase of a 2016 demonstration BMW motorcycle from Foothills Motorcycles of Lakewood at a cost of $22,329. This was to implement our new traffic unit. So there'll be an officer assigned to this motorbike, and they should be able to operate 9 months a year, 5 days a week. We had that unit prior to the recession. It was cut out, unfortunately. There really is a need, particularly for right-of-way violations and speeding. This particular bike is sole source because it is a demo. It's a one-of-a-kind. It will save the city about $6,000. And according to the police department, it is sufficient over a new bike as far as they're concerned. So we don't need to buy a new one. And then the balance of 7K is just receiving and file a list of our bills. Any questions on any of those consent items?
All right, what is the status of the shower? Is that going to be turned over to the county? Will it be ours? What?
Yeah, we would donate that to the county. The city is not in the business of operating and providing homeless services, so the city council's contribution here would be the capital investment in this unit, and then we turn it over to the county to operate, and we also give them the surplus vehicle to tow it with.
That's not the way I understood it. Ms. Smith, would you want to comment?
Yeah, so we have met. First, we went to the Homeless Coalition to ask for help and solutions. And one of the greatest needs with the homeless population and help alleviating some of the problems that we have been having with homelessness was a mobile shower unit. And in the agreement, Stacy, you probably should go ahead and come up. She's representing DHS. We've had several meetings together with DHS, the county, and representation from the Homeless Coalition to create this program for the mobile shower unit. And basically it came down to that the city has availability for the capital improvement to acquire the mobile shower unit, and DHS has a capability of using funds for staffing and running the program and where it goes and having it used and supplying it. So I'll let Stacy take it from
Yeah,
there.
so thank you very much. My understanding, and we have not completed the agreement yet, but that the city would be providing the shower and the vehicle. My understanding was that the city would continue to own the shower and the vehicle, and we would just be providing the staffing for the shower and running the program. But evidently, we just need to talk through that a little bit still. But we have a program, a Colorado Works internship program, where we intend to hire someone that is currently on assistance, and so it'll serve two purposes by putting someone to work and serving the community. So we're really excited about this opportunity to collaborate with the city.
So basically, it's kind of a one-time investment for us tonight, but the continuation of the program and the funds that it would require to run the program will come from DHS.
How about maintenance and things like that?
My understanding, at least, is that they would take responsibility of all operating expenses related to this program.
Okay.
Who is they?
The county.
County? DHS?
Well, evidently, there's still some discussions to be had
Okay.
about who's responsible for those pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can approve the acquisition of it. We still have some loose ends to
Yeah.
put together.
And I'm sure we can come to an agreement.
Yeah, so we already started the conversation of creating an IGA agreement, so
Okay.
all of that is spelled out and clear, so that we realize that there will be a point, probably could be in the near future, that neither county elected officials or city elected officials will be sitting here. We want to make sure we have an IGA agreement that clearly spells out each other's roles and responsibilities for the future of the program. I have talked to other communities that have used it, and it's been an incredible blessing and service to the homeless population, both for hygiene purposes. We've had problems, as you know, with our splash pad and in our river and our fountain at Veterans Park. And this gives a positive alternative than giving citations. We've had some from Loaves and Fishes who are working with those who are trying to get employment, and it's a real setback to want to go to a job interview if you haven't had a shower in such a long time. And so it does a number of services. They foresee the shower unit would follow the medical van as the trips that they take around the county. Also maybe coordinating, so when there's laundry days, one in Florence a month and one in Canyon City in a month, they can do their laundry and take a shower. Or if there's a meal being fed at a certain time in the month at a church, that the mobile shower unit could be available there so they can get a meal and a shower as well. So there's a number of opportunities for that. And there'll be more conversations with the impact of homelessness beyond mobile shower unit. Part of the BLM conversation we had today about the illegal dumping, Phantom Canyon is just one example. Everywhere you go in Phantom Canyon, any stop you take, it is absolutely ruined with trash. And most of that is from homeless camping at those parks. And so the costs of homelessness are continuing to mount on our communities. This is a proactive solution to maybe help get those people suffering those problems to have an opportunity to make their lives better and gain employment and independence. And we have a number of members of the Homeless Coalition here today too. If you wouldn't mind raising your hands, I can thank you for your efforts too. There's a number of you here too with their support.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any questions, Dolly? Ms. Gonzalez, rather?
Yeah, my only question is, in your email that I can't remember who it was to, but you mentioned some roadblocks were hit in Colorado Springs, and you didn't have any specifics on those. My concern is we purchase this shower unit and the county hits roadblocks or...
Well, the roadblocks was just working with the government itself. This was a nonprofit organization that bought and purchased this shower unit. And so when they wanted to implement their program and went to the local government, that's where they hit their roadblocks. So when I approached them, which by the way came through a contact through Senator Cory Gardner's office, our situation is completely different because in this case, the government entities are working together. Mm-hmm. And so we are in collaboration and agreement, and we are working together. And so I think any roadblocks we might come up will be able to be worked out since we're all on board. And so that's why they were willing. This nonprofit organization called Showered with Love bought their shower unit. It's 4 units, so 4 showers can be done at a time, for $43,000, and they are selling it to us at a loss. It's only been used once for a soft start last fall, so it's basically brand new, and they're selling it to us at a loss to them for $30,000 because they would rather see that shower unit going to help those that it was intended for. And they felt like this would be a successful place where it could actually be used and utilized.
Okay. I just concerned with the cost of water, the cost of maintenance, the cost of sanitizing it, manning it. You know, what is...
DHS is
cost?
sanitizing it. DHS is providing the soap, the shampoos, the towels. In some cases, some of the organizations provide socks and maybe clean underwear. They're the ones that are taking all those day-to-day costs. That's the real costs that add up, and DHS is taking those on with their funding.
I understand that, but that's still taxpayer money. And at what cost are we showering the homeless is what I'm trying to get at. I'm not against it, but how much, in reality, I'd kind of like to know, in reality, how much is this going to cost us? And are they, I mean, is there some kind of reward program? Can they work for a shower or put some time and money into the community so that they can use the facility? I mean, are those kind of questions being asked? Or is this just a free shower? And how many
Stacy,
times can they
do you wanna
shower?
come
How often?
So from the department's perspective, we would definitely want to make it available to anyone that wanted a shower. Like Ashley said, it's difficult for someone to find a job when they have not had a shower. There will be children. We believe all children should be able to go to school clean, and we would want to make that available to anybody who wanted a shower.
Okay, so I think what concerns me is people taking advantage of it, washing their clothes inside of the unit, or You know, anytime something like this comes up, there tends to be people who take advantage of the system, and I would hate to see that happen and then it go away. So I'm just thinking into the future. This is a lot of money to spend on a unit that could potentially cause problems.
Our hope is that an investment in these individuals, I mean, something like this will provide an investment to them so that they can then provide investment in themselves and move themselves out of the situation that they're in. I mean, it takes every little thing like that to move people forward, and having faith in them, we think will do that.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Kens?
My question is, what we're talking about, all we're talking about right now, it's my understanding, is the fact that we purchased the mobile shower, we're giving them a vehicle to haul it around, and at this point, nothing else, no other costs from the city at this point, just those 2 items in there. And if anything else comes up later, then I guess that's something that needs to be negotiated. But my understanding is, all we're saying is, we're going to buy the shower, we're going to give the county a vehicle to move it from location to location. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just, I think Mr. Hamrick, and then we can go.
First, I want to say thank you, Councilwoman Smith, for your work on this. I think this is really great. I think it's a great idea. I hope we're just, stunningly successful in this. The kind of the soft part that I see is that right now we don't really have well-defined what the maintenance costs are. Propane, tires, the kind of things that the DHS is not going to cover. And I realize that time is of the essence. We've got an opportunity now. We need to act. I'm in favor of purchasing it. But it's going to be, the success of this is going to really depend on the IGA that we can get with the county, because I've got a hunch that this is going to be, if we knew what it cost per month to maintain the shower beyond what DHS is going to be, I think the county might have second thoughts, but I hope that's not the case.
Well, it's not really county funds that are funding it. It's DHS. You get it through state funding, right? It's a little bit
We
different.
have federal, state, and county
Okay.
funding. It's federal funding for the individual, but it would be county funds for anything additional. Yes, it would be county funding.
So it's one of the rare times that the county is willing to even have this conversation and pursue it. And we had our meeting, and they seemed pretty favorable about it. So it's one of our opportunities to have a collaborative relationship with the county.
Yes, absolutely.
Ms. Cochran?
I personally, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I would feel more comfortable approving this if we could look at the IGA first. And I don't know if language needs to be in there of, if this program, for whatever reason, stops working, that maybe we get that trailer back to recoup some of our cost. I just am hesitant to spend that kind of money and hand over the trailer with no, guaranteed service agreement, or, it just makes me nervous to purchase it and then not have any guarantee that it will be used on a regular basis, and that's just me.
So if I could speak to that, I know our intent, although the agreement is not yet written, the intent was to have in there that we would agree upon, the county and the city would agree upon a route that would be at least 20 hours a week during good weather, as long as it was utilized and needed. We're really hopeful for lots of stops. We started working on the route today, making all the contacts with the food pantries, with the laundry locations. I've spoken with Valley-wide regarding the medical van going around, and so we're really hopeful that we'll be well received. It will depend upon where the water is available, where we will be able to go.
And in our conversations, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, but you did mention in your email that ultimately the Suburban and the shower unit would belong to the city. So at some point, if the program were to cease, that we could recoup our costs.
Absolutely. The county does not intend to own those 2 items. We're just running the program.
Mr. Meisner?
I'm kind of backing up Mr. Hawkes's comment. The recommendation is that we're agreeing to purchase this unit. We keep talking about donating, but there's really no verbiage there that says we're going to donate it. We talk about donating the vehicle, which whoever has ownership of that, and I realize there's an IGA, but whoever owns it potentially is going to be liable for making sure it's still working to some degree. We need to keep that in mind. Do you have any idea what per shower your costs are projected to be, including towels and soaps?
I do not know that, Mr. Meisner. We have a lot of donated soaps already and things like that. We have a plan for that. We've done outreach to the churches and different community groups for doing drives for all of the things that are needed for the shower itself. But as far as water, I do not know.
Are they planning on using disposable or regular?
Like disposable towels. We believe that will be a little too expensive, so we do not plan on disposable towels. And we have laundry facilities at the department and at Loaves and Fishes where we can keep those clean.
Okay.
If we move forward, I would at least suggest that we add some additional logos to that van or that shower to at least acknowledge the parties that are providing that van versus shower of love. I'm not sure what that means to anybody here.
Okay. Anyone else?
A question on 8G.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I have another question.
Go ahead.
So 8G is the body-worn camera program. And in that, it says that part of the yearly fee that we pay will be for 5.5 terabytes of storage. Is that correct? Do you know, Chief?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What happens if we don't pay the fee to that data?
So the data becomes ours. It's not proprietary. That would stay within Axon. We would have the ability to download that and offload it from the cloud-based storage into a hardware server on site.
Do you have any experience? Do you know, is the 5.5 terabytes a sufficient amount per? That's total, and that will, as the program moves forward, we're going to use more and more of that 5.5, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an
that's
idea, is that a sufficient quantity, or will we need to do some regular downloads onto media that we own and control to maintain that data?
So I do have some experience implementing body-worn cameras previously to being appointed here, and actually had the opportunity to speak to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. They have 500 officers that currently wear body-worn cameras. It's an option for them. It's not mandatory for the entire department. And they currently manage all of their body-worn camera storage with 7 terabytes of information. The way that they do it is through a retention schedule that certain information that's not needed for either appellate court cases or some sort of criminal case is then purged after a certain period of time. I have had some conversations with our local district attorney in coordination with vetting that against the Department of State's records archive, records retention schedule for those, and we have come up with something that we think can modify or manage it effectively. Most manufacturers recommend about 100 gigabytes per officer per year.
Thank you.
Ms. Cochran.
I have a question. It's more clarification than anything else. It says, with the second and subsequent years costing $20,000, 442, is that just for the life of the cameras, or is there an end period to that, or?
So, yes, ma'am. There is an end period to it, and essentially most Motorola is the same way. They generally forecast out about a 5-year purchase program, and the reason for that is the upfront cost the first year for hardware generally makes it a little more expensive. As an example, Motorola's first year expense was $59,000. It then goes down to about $17,000 every year thereafter for the in-cloud or on-site storage. And part of Motorola's upfront cost is $15,000 for a hardware server that would live on site. So I guess the answer to your question is yes, and I think where you're going with this is that if there's, in subsequent years, those costs, if we can't budget those, there is a non-appropriations clause built within all of these different structures. So if we can't afford it next year. There's no requirement to continue it, but that first year is generally expensive across the board, and they forecast it out 5 years. Does that answer your question?
It does, and then a follow-up to that would be, will the cameras last 5 years?
Yes, so with Axon, and that's part of the benefit of choosing them over some others, is that their program at 2.5 years and 5 years, it's an automatic, no-cost upgrade to the next available camera. So in 2.5 years, they're body-worn 3. We would get those at no cost based on this current estimate, and then again at 5 years, which is the life of the contract.
Yeah. These particular cameras, has been an appreciable reduction in their costs over the last 5 years. So they're becoming cheaper and cheaper. They originally were over $5,000. Now they're less than $1,000. So that they'll continue to drop in price because of the improvements to the technology industry.
Okay. Mr. Meisner?
Well, we seem to avoid in item D. I would like to at least express that I believe the intent, while the 2A ballot mentioned not spending monies for personnel and equipment, I believe our conversation last year, the intent, as I understood it of council, was that we wanted a simple tabulation of that we took in $5 million in taxes, and we want to know, was the $5 million spent on 2A projects? I realize that's a simple statement that requires a lot of entries to be made. I thought that there was also discussion that potentially the new full audit could be modified so that that information was available. But the point is, the public wants to know if the 2A money that's being collected, the taxes, is being spent on streets. And a sampling does not provide that verification, in my opinion, to the public.
Yeah, we're just responding to what the ballot language asks of us. If you want to expand upon that, that's your prerogative, but we'll have to get back and get a different scope of service and bring you back a different price.
I don't understand how with the sampling, you can tell me that that's what you're doing.
That's how audits are conducted. They do not review every financial transaction. They do a sampling. And if they strike something that's unusual, they'll dig. That's why we have an annual comprehensive audit. They do the same procedure. We as a city, and I mentioned this, Jim, spend about $21,000. I've been in communities, it's not relative to the size of the community, they'll spend over $100,000 because our staff does most of the field work for the auditors. And they can do the same for this, but I can't quote you a price because I'm not the party that's going to carry out the service, but we'll be glad to go back and expand the scope of service and bring you back a different price.
May
Pleasure.
I make a comment?
Yes, yes, sir, go ahead.
I looked at the transaction for last year. We have major transactions, it's only 12 transactions. I believe they will check all 12 transactions. They don't check $5 item or $10 item, but they check $10,000 or $20,000 items. And there are 12 items. It takes for them only 1 hour to check it. So I don't see any reason you need to modify anything unless you feel uncomfortable. There is second audit within 2 weeks after that would be our regular financial audit. And they check again different transaction than what they picked. So there are 2 different auditors, independent auditors, are checking the same transactions. As far as the financial, I have ready right now. Only thing this needs to be audited. So if you're comfortable, I can give you this number, and I guarantee you there won't be any changes. But that is not how it works. Council might question me, if they make changes. But I'm very confident. Every year we do this, and we don't have any changes. So I'm happy to give you the financial if you want to see that.
Well, Mr. Hamrick.
Just a technical question, the street improvement fund, does that cover our normal street maintenance?
No.
No.
That is
Strictly 2A reconstruction. It's not
strictly 2A reconstruction. So the scope of the audit as it is now, it says obtain a detailed listing of expenditures in the street improvement fund. Okay? The total of that versus the money we brought in is the check I believe you're asking for.
Yeah.
That will be the check they will do.
And that, I don't think that requires a scope change.
Well, but I think, to all respect to Councilman Myers, I think he wants a separate financial statement related to that. So we need to include that in the scope. Because right now, the technical review is, did we spend any money on personnel or equipment? That's their scope of work. I mean, I don't envision a significant change, but we do have to make a change in the scope.
Mr. Patel?
I believe that none of these auditors will do the financial audit. Financial audit requires city as a whole. When they make the opinion, they make opinion as all funds as a whole their test is, not for one significant, one fund. So I would request, let them check all the transactions. There are only 12 transactions, which is required to be checked. If you feel uncomfortable, I'll be happy to have you check whatever you like, But it will cost us a lot more money, and it is unnecessary because within 2 weeks, the regular auditor will check the same transaction again. That's my comment.
Okay, I'm going to, let's move, if we can, if it's your pleasure, to move on to the, ask for additions or corrections for the consent agenda, and then a motion. Mr. Meisner.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I first of all move that we remove item D. And secondly, I move that we amend the chamber contract, or the chamber agreement needs to be modified. That would specifically state that the hours that the chamber needs to be open are from 8 to 5, from Memorial Day through Labor Day, including holidays. And that's for their tourist
Visitor
cabin. Is that
center.
correct now, Tony?
Yes.
That we're getting the right names here?
Yep.
And that the Peabody House, which I guess is their office,
Yeah.
would be open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. That information is stated in the letter, but is not included in the actual agreement. So I would suggest or propose that those hours of operation for the Peabody Mansion and the tourist cabin be included in the actual agreement.
Does everybody understand that? And
Can I just,
Yes,
really
ma'am.
quickly, I'm sorry, Councilmember Meisner, did you say D as in dog or B as in boy?
D.
Delta.
Okay. On item B, the appointment of 2 council members shouldn't be a consent item, so that needs to come off and become an action item if you choose to go that way or not, so.
Well, we read it as, we'll just post the meetings, you don't have to appoint anyone.
Well, I
then
would
it
like
needs
to have
to
a
be removed from
conversation
the
about
consent
that. I think that I don't want to open to the public, but I think we should have it where 2 council members or any 2 council members are able to attend those meetings. We can sign up and, because there'll be plenty to share
Sure.
among council members.
And then should we add in that we are waiting on an IGA for item 3 for the shower, or E?
There's no need to. We're just acquiring it. If we don't get an IGA, they don't get the shower.
Well, then we're stuck with the shower unit that we're not operating.
Well. I suppose if you want to, would you mind amending that to add that they're necessary for an IGA? Let's get going on this. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Progress moves slowly, Mayor. I also would propose that we clarify or amend, what item is that?
Item E.
E?
E.
Item E, that council is approving the purchase of the shower unit for $30,000 and approving the purchase of the modification package, assuming we need to do that. But we are not approving the donation of the vehicle or the trailer at this point in time.
Does everybody understand?
So discussion, just to, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Hamler.
So, Mr. Meisner, are you requesting that item D be removed so the scope can be rewritten? Is that correct?
Or unless council wants to make a decision.
What?
Well, I mean, if council wants to make a decision in terms of how they want this sampling audit, then do so. I am not comfortable with the way that that process is working in terms of justifying to the public that 2A money is being spent on 2A streets. That's what I'm saying. And the information we got last year did not help us, in my opinion, and we had a long discussion last year about the same subject.
Do you want to just pull that off the consent agenda?
That's what I suggested.
You did?
Yes.
That was my point of clarification.
What on earth is what is the motion? Go back over it.
Okay. Mayor and council, I move that we approve the consent and regular agenda with the modification to the consent agenda to remove item D. We modify the chamber agreement to include the hours of operation for the Peabody Mansion and the tourist cabin to the hours mentioned in this memo. Will that work? And that the approval of the purchase, item E is only for the purchase of the $30,000 shower van and the necessary towing package for the vehicle. That would not include a donation of either of those items at this particular point.
Second.
So we'll approve the purchase, but not a donation.
Right.
Because the real will keep it.
Well, we can't go any further. Right? We got to buy it.
Okay. Does everybody understand the motion? I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Hamrick. Any discussions on that motion? Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran.
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez.
I'm going to go no only because I believe that our finance department and everything else has done everything to prove to us, and we have to have some trust in those folks that we haven't spent any of our 2A money on any unnecessary items other than the road project. I agree with the other two things, but to me, I have faith in our system with regards to how we spend our money that's allocated to us.
Councilmember Meisner.
Well, Mr. Jaquez did it. I have faith in our accounting department too, but I have a responsibility to people elected me to this position. And one of those points with the 2A funds was that they wanted accountability for the 2A funds. And my personal belief is that the process that we're using does not do that. And I vote yay.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Now, we would, since we have the chief, if you don't mind, let's move you up to where?
Let's do 8B or a 9A. Just move you up so you don't have to stay through some long conversations.
9A and 12.
Yeah, I'm moving 12 up to the
Move
top
12
of
up,
discussion.
yeah. Police Department Business Manager. Could we have, are we going to have the chief discuss that, or are you going to talk to them?
I think I'll start it off.
Okay.
Chief and I have talked about this. You know, the police department is the single largest operating budget in the city, also has a third of the city employees. But police departments are unique in that the functions of finance and HR are traditionally handled by civilians trained and educated in those spheres. Currently, our police department has been so small that those responsibilities have been allocated to uniform officers. I think we're at a point in our history, but also in the size, that we really need the benefits of an experienced, educated, finance, business manager in the police department, given the magnitude of their budget, capital needs, and personnel. So that's the essence. And also to free the chief up to explore and spend more of his time on strategic initiatives, improving the health, safety, and welfare of this community, and not worrying about day-to-day financial issues and transactions or personnel, what I would call routine matters.
Chief Harvey? Discussion? Or do you concur with what he said?
So, I've worked at several different size departments, and depending upon the size, there definitely are civilian staff that are tasked with these responsibilities to help free up uniformed personnel specifically for that. Currently, we have these functions being spread out across several different members, and a good example of that is our off-duty billing and auditing for off-duty officers to go provide security at different locations. So that's being done by a sergeant right now, who also does the PIO function, social media, oversees the SRO program, and so this would help us, obviously. My only caveat to this is at the expense of a sworn officer, which we need. When we revisit the budget in 2020, I would ask that this council remember this conversation because, it comes at a dear price, and I need every officer I've got. So there is a need. I do support the city administrator's assessment, and there are some things that could be co-located into a single person to provide some continuity and communication between City Hall and the police department. But I would make a plea that this officer, that our sworn officer position that we're sacrificing for this, be revisited and reinstated in next year's budget.
Yeah, and we will be recommending that in the budget. There's no question from our end.
Okay, Ms. Gonzalez.
So is that why it was listed as temporary in the memo?
Yes,
Okay.
because we don't have any current vacancies other than sworn police officers. You well know, we're never 100% staffed. It's virtually impossible in this day and age to fully staff the sworn officer position. So we have vacancies there that could be converted for this position, but then we want to back that position in the 2020 budget.
Sure, so you're not having to lay off an
No.
officer in order to fill this position? You just have that position open currently?
Correct. We have 3 current vacancies, and some people in the pipeline, obviously, to fill those vacancies, but we also have some folks that are exploring other options with other agencies currently. So, like the city administrator said, we have 3 vacancies currently, and it unfortunately is somewhat of a revolving door of folks exploring other opportunities. So I think with salary, and I know I'm not supposed to use that word, but salary savings, I think we'll be able to do that, and then hopefully we'll be fully staffed when I'm coming to ask for this position next year.
Ms. Cochran?
I don't know if we have this ability, but would it not make sense to just approve this as an additional position, and then we're not having to revisit and worry about an officer shortage?
Technically, you can. We don't honestly believe we'll ever, at least for the foreseeable future, get to 100% capacity in our sworn officers.
But this would not
'Cause we
restrict
have-
that if we get to that point.
True, if that matter comes up, we can bring them back, but we have 3 vacancies. We're well aware there will be continued turnover, so we really, I wish that were the case, that we bid 100%, but virtually no one in this country, as far as police department or the military, is at 100%. But if you wanted to do that, that's fine.
Anyone else? Mr. Meisner?
More positive.
Mr. Meisner?
First of all, I support this from a standpoint that, from my managerial experience, I think it provides you with an opportunity to concentrate on policing and let somebody else that reports directly to you concentrate on the business side of the affairs. The other issue I have is in the opening letter, it mentions that it does not require a sworn command position, but in your other requirements, you're requiring your post-certification course. That seems to be conflicting.
Post-records management course.
No, that's just an error. There shouldn't be any reference to post. That's a sworn
for a
officer
sworn officer.
training
Is that-
requirement.
Yeah, if there's a reference in there, and unfortunately, I don't have the memo in front of me,
Yeah.
but they would not have to be post-certified at all.
Okay, yeah.
But post-certified is different than taking a post-records management course. That's what the current requirement is, and that was going to be my question too, is what is there some benefit to that? I mean, because the person is going to be operating within a police department organization. There are certain records management requirements peculiar to a law enforcement agency.
Yeah, but the chief already has a professional records manager. I don't think we need to duplicate that responsibility. This focus, as we've indicated, is on finance and processing the process, because they do a lot of recruitment, a lot of hiring. So we want them to be solely responsible for those functions.
And so post, the requirement, other requirement of must complete a post-records management course would be removed, is that correct?
Yeah, we don't think it's
Correct,
necessary.
yeah.
Well,
I think-
oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, it appears because it talks that maybe this was part of that mistake, appears that maybe this is copy and pasted from a different program, because it mentions California a number of times.
Yeah, it
And so
came-
I was wondering if there are
we looked
any
at different job
other
descriptions from other states. We'll clean that up.
indiscrepancies that we
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
fine tune to fit Canyon
It
City's
just
needs.
shows you the commonality of this position across the police world. They even
Go to
hire them
California.
in California.
I don't like the reference to California on that one,
Yeah.
but
It
anyway.
requires a California driver's license.
California driver's license.
All right.
That
let's-
limits our
all
pools
right.
a little bit.
Let's move forward right now. Any questions? Good. Could I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve, oh, it's not on here.
Business manager.
Authorize the creation of business manager position within the police department as outlined in the attached job description
Second.
With modifications.
with the modifications in the job description.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Meisner?
Well, we are in fact creating a position. Is that correct?
A
Like
Temporary.
Amanda had
temporary
asked?
position,
A temporary position.
yeah.
It doesn't say that.
It does say that.
All right. It is a temporary position. Any other
Says
discussion?
Authorize the creation of a business manager position. Okay.
Not in the recommended action, but it does say it in the,
Oh. Seen
Okay.
the lines.
Yeah. And
Any other?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Please, get me out of
Sorry.
this.
I think Mr. Meisner's point was a pretty valid one, that why should we do the double shuffle? Why not make this a permanent position? That's our intention.
Yeah.
And that way, we've already got the personnel funds for this new position. And if we were lucky enough to get fully staffed, or fortunate enough to get fully staffed, you could come back at that time for additional supplemental budget.
Sure. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.
And so I would make a motion that
Make it
we make
permanent.
this a permanent position.
I agree.
Is that the only motion we have on this? Did you
My
clear this
motion
up?
amended her motion, so we
What
need
on
a second.
earth, what? Now, come on, where are we
I
at here?
second the amended motion,
To make it permanent.
yes.
All right, please, any more discussion? Thank you. Would you call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Cochran.
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
aye.
Councilmember Hamrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Thank you for your patience, Chief Harvey.
Do we have to do?
We still
What?
have another
Twice.
vote.
We have to vote
What?
twice. Because
That
there's
was just for the amendment.
two motions and two,
Two different motions.
Call the roll.
Can I just clarify something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I am so sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I understand it's been a long day.
No, you don't believe me. Go ahead.
You wouldn't believe me. Anyways, this is to free up the 3 positions that are open, correct? For a sworn officer, and allow him to hire 3 if they were available.
Yes.
And then hire, okay,
Adding an additional authorized position to the police
sure.
department budget.
Okay, proceed.
I don't know where we're at. Where are we at here?
roll.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Cochran.
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Now let's go to something a little more exciting. I would have we'll talk about Golden Age Center request for contribution. Invite the administrator for a discussion.
Yes, I think there's a representative here. She'll come on up. Lysel, we have budgeted $15,000 in the 2019 budget. The Golden Age Center has requested another 10, so we thought this would be an appropriate time for them to articulate what the combined funding will achieve.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor.
Could we have your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was getting there.
Do you still have the same name?
Council members, it's my pleasure to speak with you. I am Liesl Hammond. I'm the Executive Director for the Golden Age Council. Real quick, before we proceed, I want to acknowledge all of the support that I have here tonight. If everybody could wave. Yes.
You don't get to vote, so. Go ahead.
I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Golden Age Council Incorporated, also known as GAC. Within my agenda, I will provide a definition of general operating expenses, information regarding external grantors, and a brief description of the three components of GAC. I'll be happy to answer any additional questions as well. GAC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization incorporated in 1961, supporting three community service programs: the Senior Activity Center, a nutrition program, and a transportation program. We have two prominent external grantors supporting two programs within GAC. The grantor for the transportation program is UACOG, the Upper Arkansas Council for Governments, located in Canyon City. The grantor for the nutrition program is the Upper Arkansas Area Agency on Aging, located in Salida. General operating expenses are supported by general operating funds, which are the funds we're discussing tonight. These funds support all programs within GAC because three programs accomplish their mission in one facility. Specifically, general operating expenses encompass GAC building costs such as utilities, repairs and maintenance, cleaning services and products, office equipment and supplies. In addition to the costs listed above, within the nutrition program, there are additional costs, such as equipment and appliances required for meal preparation, as well as utensils, dishes, tables, chairs, etc. I've already mentioned two of our external grantors. Your approval today affects future grant opportunities for GAC. We're required to submit a list of any grantors, any funding we receive in any application that we submit for a grant. So local support is very important. We're currently working on over 10 grant opportunities for GAC for the future. And then quickly, I'll just give you a brief overview of each component. Fremont County Transit, our transportation program within the GAC window. We average 25 to 40 trips per day, primarily medical appointments and food and groceries. We did almost 10,000 trips in 2018, and we're on track for a much bigger 2019. We offer 3 vehicles with lift capability for our clients in wheelchairs. And we have 5 paid employees, drivers and dispatchers, and 26 volunteer drivers. Within the GAC nutrition program, we average 50 to 100 meals per day. We served over 14,000 meals in 2018. The meals are available Monday through Friday, and we do receive donations for the meals. However, all donations flow through us to the Area Agency on Aging. We don't keep any of the money. All costs except for food and employee salaries supporting the nutrition program are GAC expenses. We have 3 paid employees, and they are the kitchen staff. However, those employees are paid by the Upper Arkansas Valley Area on Aging. And then we have over 50 volunteers who come in and support the nutrition program. Within our Senior Activity Center, since December 2018, we've experienced a 10% growth in membership. We have evening entertainment available 1 to 3 nights per week, and we offer shuttle service for that evening entertainment for people who can't drive in the evenings. We have exercise programs 4 days per week. Bingo is available on Wednesdays, and card games are played almost every day. And now I'm ready for your questions or concerns, please.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions of
Thank you.
council?
Go ahead.
Oh, I can take care of this. Who, what? Ms. Gonzalez?
Well, I wanted to thank Liesl for calling me. At the last meeting, I had some questions concerning the nutrition program, and I was under the impression that some of that money was needed for the food. And we had a conversation explaining that it was for costs for operating the nutrition program. So thank you for clearing that up with me, and it makes me feel a lot better
Good.
knowing that information.
Anyone else?
Clarify that again?
So at the last meeting, we talked about this funding, and I had questions concerning the nutrition program because it's state-funded. Is it state-funded?
Actually,
Federally.
federal.
Federal-funded program that pays for the food. And it sounded in the letter like it was, like they were asking for money for nutritional services. And she clarified with me that it was not to go directly towards food, but to operating costs for the nutrition program. Utilities,
Building maintenance,
Building
tables,
ma-
chairs.
yeah, toilet
pots and
paper.
pans. Yes.
that kind of stuff. So,
Ms. Smith?
Well, I think there is a clarification. We did get some, an email from UCOG, wanted to clarify that they spent $227,850 on nutrition services for the GAC. That was in 2018. It includes all staff salaries and benefits, food, supplies, and $100 per week directly to the GAC to offset expenses such as utilities. And so the UCOG does spend or pay for all of those things, substantial, where it should be self-sufficient. As far as the nutrition program, it goes itself. So that over the years, they've also purchased the appliances, dishes, flatware, tables, and chairs, but they haven't in 2018. And so, according to UCOG, it should be a self-sufficient nutrition program through their funding.
Actually, as you know, I've only been in the position for 4 months, so I'm going to ask for some input from someone who has been here longer than I have. Cindy is my Director of Operations, and so she can elaborate on this. I have spent a significant amount of time within our transportation program, however, only minimal time within the Area Agency on Aging in Salida, so that is on my agenda to spend more time with them and learn more about that program. But I am not as knowledgeable as of now of that program, so Cindy can speak on that.
Mr. Mayor and council and guests, the UACOG does take care of our nutrition program, but it is our building and is our utilities, and we pay the majority of all repairs for that building. They do have a reimbursement program. Every month, we send them copies of every statement, every bill, everything we pay, and they do reimburse us a portion. We are allowed, it was $125,000, but we have to match that every year. So by the time we match that, it does dig into all of our expenses. So yes, there is UACOG that does take care of a lot of it, but our building is not covered by UACOG.
Well, they only pay the $100 weekly for the hour that they're eating lunch. Yeah, but they don't pay 24/7.
No, they do not pay us 24/7, no.
So
we do have a lot of expenses. It is, it's an old building, and, You know, today I received an electric bill for $715 for 1 month. It does take quite a bit to keep that building open, and we do not get reimbursement for a lot of our electricity through UACOG.
So for clarification purposes, then, would it be safe to say that you're not asking for funding for the food program, you're asking for funding for utilities and/or building right here?
Yes, ma'am. That is,
Okay.
that is
'Cause
our
it has-
purpose.
It has the food program listed in here.
The food program is basically taken care of on its own.
Okay.
Yes, we are asking for the other processes to keep our establishment open through the Golden Age Center and our Fremont County Transit.
Where are you getting this food stuff at? I'm missing this.
It's in the letter that she wrote to Tony.
Oh, okay. I'm going on Tony's letter.
Okay, any other questions of Kathy or Liesel?
Did you have one?
No, that
What?
was it.
Mr. Meisner?
Well, I'm confused. The letter from Tony stipulates that there's a $10,000 contribution for building expenses and $10,000 for the shuttle program, but the letter from the GAC mentions that $20,000 is for the, it looks to me like they're talking about for the shuttle program or the transit program. So the bottom line is, what's the $20,000 going to be used for?
Well, that's what they originally reported to us. If they've made a modification, that's their prerogative, because you're having to approve the entire $35,000 tonight. So it's really your prerogative as to what the appropriate expenditures are based upon their needs.
What did we give in 2018 total?
$10,000 for transit
Yeah.
and $10,000 for operating cost.
Yeah, total 20.
That's what we budget, 20,000.
Did they, is that a reimbursement or is that money forward?
It's just money forward.
Yeah.
Mr. Meisner?
Do you have an idea as to what the transit program is costing? I would hope, but I mean, what's your transit costing you per year?
I mean, the transit program is a matched grant. So the grant is $136,000 per year. And then we have to match that grant.
Yeah, so they only get the 136,000 if they match 136,000.
Exactly. Yes. And as, just to clarify, my understanding is this is a general operating fund. So that was my understanding. So my attempt was to encompass all 3 programs within GAC, which all function within the same facility. So just to elaborate on the nutrition program, we prepare for the nutrition program daily for approximately 4 hours prior to actually feeding these people lunch. And so the facility is operating at high op tempo in preparation for the 100 people that are coming for lunch. So even though the nutrition program gives us an hour's worth of funding for that day, it's ongoing. And so just to clarify that, all 3 programs are operating at all times within the Golden Age Center facility.
Right.
Mr. Meisner?
Historically, do you know, are you achieving the $136,000 in matching monies for the grant?
Absolutely. Last year, historically, no. Last year, yes. We were $20,000 from reaching our goal, from reaching the $125,000 that was allocated last year when I assumed the position on the 26th of November. And I believe at the end of the year, we were $800 from the $125,000. So as a result of us achieving that $125,000 by the end of 2018, they actually raised the grant another $11,000 for us this year.
I realize there's a number of programs that the Golden Age Center does. I would suggest that we try to simplify this process. And if we're going to do $35,000, I would suggest we just simply allocate that towards the transit program and let them figure out the rest of their budget, versus us saying we're going to do 10 for this and 10 for that and 10 for this, and making for sure, because we have a responsibility for each of those funds that we allocate, that you're spending those funds as we allocated them. And I think of, at least my belief, of all the programs that we have that have the largest impact on the entire community and our taxpayers is probably your transit program. I would suggest we just take the 35, if we're comfortable with 35, and making that contribution, but specifically for the transit program.
Fine for you?
Absolutely, that's outstanding.
Any comments of council? Ms. Smith?
Well, I mean, if they're struggling paying the utility bills, that does not help them in that respect. So are you guys okay with?
They take it and use it. I mean,
Yes.
As long as he's going to let us allocate everything, because I know that in the past, we have been given money for just transit.
Right.
And then we've had to turn around and take money out of that, and then we've had to justify why we did that. And there again, we're going to be justifying, well, we need to pay our utilities. So if that's all right, Mr. Meisel, I mean, we're still going to have to justify that $35,000 if you allocate it all for transit. And I know by no means I'm turning it down, thank you very much. But what is going to be your stipulation for us to justify this then?
The council or the stipulation that we historically have followed in council is that if we allocate money for a specific use, that's what that money's to be used for. But from a mathematical standpoint, if we're giving you only $10,000 for transit, if we up that to 35, you now have additional $25,000 in your other budget to spend as you please, and you don't have to answer to the city. But the $35,000 that we give you specifically has to be used for transportation-related issues.
And absolutely, I believe that we can justify that. As you know, it's been a focus of mine ever since I took over. We've discussed this to expand the transportation program. And so I embrace that. There's a huge need for more transportation. We are currently tapped out, and I've been researching dispatch programs, electronic dispatch programs, similar to what is used in the taxi service or larger organizations. I've been working with the Senior Center in Pueblo and looking into their dispatch program, which is $30,000. So certainly there are methods that we can apply that money to the transit program and justify it and add a better transit service, a larger transit service to the community and the county.
I'm not suggesting you enlarge. I'm just telling you that relative to your request, that I suggest that we allocate 35 specifically for transportation to utilize for that program, and you take the 25 that you would now have and allocate it as you see fit.
Thank you.
Any questions, council? Ms. Gonzalez?
I'm sensing a little bit of hesitation from Cindy? Yeah, Cindy? No, that's okay. Is there,
I watch over the money.
yeah, is there concerns? No?
No, you do so they can hear you. No, I guess there's not a concern in respect to the generous amount of money. I just worry daily on,
Sure.
you know, how the bills are going to get paid, and that's me.
So are you saying it's more simple for you if you had the division of allocation?
Yeah.
Would you prefer the division?
I would, Ashley. Yes, I would. But of course, then we'll take what we get. I'm sorry. And it's probably just me. And I appreciate very much that you're even doing this. So I'll breathe and step back.
Okay.
I do have some questions,
Ms. Smith,
Mr.
go
Mayor.
ahead.
Deb is one of our board members, so she's...
Good evening, thank you. I'm Vice President of the Board, and I have some concerns, Mr. Meiser. Yes, we have transit. It's one of the biggest programs that we have. However, while we're still operating that transit, we still have a large budget to accommodate for just general operating procedures. And if it would be in your purview to trust us, we've been on the board since 1961. We haven't gone anywhere. We haven't gone down the tubes. We haven't taken the money from our generous donors and grantors and misappropriated it or used it in any other fashion. Anytime we receive money that is specifically given for a specific part of our GAC, we have to answer for any of that money being taken out to help the other part of GAC survive. So while we're feeding the right arm, we are, in essence, cutting off the left leg and wondering why in the world we are limping. We don't want to limp. With your help, we can maintain homeostasis. And that's what we are begging you for. We are begging you for this because I can see the look on Cindy's face, almost to the point of saying, we'll take anything as long as it's green. And that is very dishumbling. So thank you for letting me get upset.
No,
I
well,
appreciate that.
I think that what we are talking about
I'm
is... you don't-
sorry, say again, sir?
No. What we were talking about is a generous grant, and you can use it the way you want. So maybe you don't have to expand your program. You can put it into $35,000, and then that money is fungible. You could then use it in some other area. That's what Mr. Meisner's saying.
But the Golden Age Center would prefer appropriation.
All right.
But maybe being a nonprofit organization, it would be easier if it was allocated to certain programs for them so that they don't get audited for something negatively.
Okay, we're beating this to death. Mr. Hamrick,
I have a motion.
go ahead.
I move that we approve the request from GAC for $35,000 as outlined in the April 1st, 2019 memo from Tony O'Rourke, City Administrator.
Second?
Second? Any discussion on that motion? Would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran?
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, Bryce, since we voted on that, do you still want to make a comment quickly? Yes. You've got 30 seconds.
It's not even 8 o'clock.
And thank you for this opportunity. I'm Bryce Nelson, and also one of the board members. And I would like to comment, one unique thing about the Golden Age Center is this is about, in these recent years, the grants have been a little harder to come by, but it's not been government-run in the sense of the city and county supporting it. You look at a lot of communities, they are funding their Golden Age Center. That has not been the case here for the most part of its entire life. We have the activities, the nutrition, the transit program, and for those you need bricks, mortar, lights, heat, personnel. You need a place for those activities to take place. And one thing that's good is a lot of the grants that we write for like to see local support, and that you are providing. So we just need a place for the seniors to come and be able to enjoy those services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bryce. Thank you. Thank you. Number 10 is the Stormwater Capital Improvement Project. Is this Mr. Lancaster or is it Mr. O'Rourke?
Adam has earned the right to speak
Adam,
tonight.
could you engineer me out of this?
I will try.
Thank you.
So my understanding from Harry is that our stormwater money is in the bank, so we need to start spending it. So the two things I want to discuss with you tonight, one is We have Icon Engineering who had done the Dawson Ranch culvert analysis, and we feel that they're more than capable of helping us with the design for the Dawson Ranch segment of the stormwater CIP. We think there's some efficiency there with the familiarity they have and the project schedule, and we think they can hit the ground running, so we just want to go straight to hiring Icon, negotiating a scope and cost with them without going to an RFP for that segment of the work. The price with Icon would not exceed 10% of what we had estimated the project cost to be. So we're just looking for an affirmation of that process tonight.
So we're going to break this in segments because the next you're going to talk about North Ninth.
Right, so
Okay.
just an up or down
Is
for
this
that.
just for design?
Just for design, yes.
They've already designed it, right?
What's that?
They've already designed it?
No, they just did the study.
They did the study.
So this would be construction drawings.
So how long before they could get started on it?
Well, we need a few weeks to negotiate with them, and then we just started this week the site survey. So they would be waiting for us, so
Okay.
maybe by the end of the month, they should be able to get started.
Okay.
How long
The intent would be Dawson Ranch would be done within 6 months.
will that include Wolf Park projects as well? Or
Yeah,
just-
those 12 priority projects, yeah.
And how long do you think it'll take them to do the design work?
It shouldn't take very long. We should be, into the summer, we should be starting construction.
Do you just need a thumbs up?
Yes, that's what we're looking for, just an affirmation that that's a
Okay.
good idea.
We'll start with Mr. Meisner. This is just a thumbs up, or
Can I say something or no? Let's turn off my mic.
Yeah, I'm going to, but no, go ahead, Mr. Meisner.
I'm opposed to not doing an RFP, but I'm going to trust you on this.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thumbs up.
Thank you.
Mr. Jaquez? Okay, there you go. Let's go on.
Thank you. On that note, we are preparing an RFP for the balance of the projects, by the way.
Okay.
So the second item is, we just wanted to, after some of the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago on the design build and all that sort of stuff, there was some talk, and so we just wanted to clarify for you that our intent for North 9th Street, even though we're going to move forward with the design bid build process, our intent is still to bundle that as we often do on these large projects. It doesn't make sense to bring in one contractor and tear things up and then wait for a second contractor to begin. And it just, we don't get those benefits, economics of scale. It's a big disruption to the public, especially for a project this size. So we still intend to bundle this project with the stormwater, water, and 2A street reconstruction funds. It's very simple to keep the funding separate for the accounting of that. We've done that in many large street projects before. 15th Street was probably, reconstruction of 15th Street was probably the first one we did that on, where we did sanitary sewer, water, and street recon. And we also were able to do this in 2017 with the 2A dollars. So just wanted to, again, clarify, make sure everybody understands that that's our intent on the 9th Street, because I know there was some discussion about, again, 2A dollars and how those are being spent. So the 2A money, even though this would be bundled to that project, would only go towards the reconstruction of the pavement. Everything else is coming out of those utility funds.
And that's not a slippery slope we're getting on here. We can definitively define that monies and only that monies for the 2A stuff, so we're not.
Very simple to do by unit price. Like I said, it's very standard practice. We've done it many, many times.
Questions of council?
Mr. Mayor, we are already doing two separate designs and builds for 4th Street and Myrtle for water, sewer, and reconstruction is totally separate,
Yep.
as well as Main Street. My recommendation, personally, I'd feel more comfortable if we bundled the water and the stormwater together, but continue to keep the street reconstruction separate.
If I could comment on that, we are doing that on 4th Street and Main Street. And the only reason is because we, for the sake of not paying Davis-Bacon on every dollar we spend, we have to separate out the grant funds. And it's a nightmare, and the timing and the scheduling is proving to be very difficult for that, as we knew it would be. So again, that's not a good example to use, because that is going to be a stressful project as far as the timing and scheduling of that, and trying to, potentially the same contractor could get all 3 jobs, but that's not likely. And so just managing that along with the utility work. we'll be lucky if we're done with those two projects before school starts in August.
Any more? Mr. Meisner?
As we increase the scope or the size of this project, what's the opportunities that you would still see if you bundled everything? What opportunities would exist for our local contractors?
I would say, being that the stormwater itself is 4 million, it's the same, it's a wash. So if you separate the storm out by itself, we're estimating $4 million.
But is your question whether this enhances or inhibits the competition for local contractors?
Yeah, I guess I didn't word that right.
Yeah.
Right, so my point is, to bond 4 million versus 6 million, it's likely not to have a positive or negative effect, whatever the effect is.
Yeah. Clearly, these individually can be done by local contractors, and I don't understand why they couldn't collectively do them at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just awarded tonight a water line, two water line projects to a local for a total of $1 million.
Yeah.
And he's doing, he has to perform both projects at the same time.
Yeah.
Any questions? That would be a thumbs up or more questions. Mr. Jaquez?
Do we have to vote on this one, or it's just?
No.
No, we're just looking for the affirmation.
We're doing the affirmation.
Shoot arrows.
That's your turn, Ms. Gonzalez.
I did thumbs up.
She did.
But we're starting from this end now.
Okay, Down.
I trust you again.
Thank you.
Okay, let it be known, we have one dissenting vote. We have some people in the audience. I'd like to go ahead and get the people in our audience, so I don't want them waiting any longer. I don't know which ordinance the Smiths are here for. It's the two rezonings. I'd like to bring those up, get those out of the way, and then we can talk about the real interesting stuff like budgeting items. Okay. These are both second readings, and with number 17 and number 18, and I don't know which is which, so do I?
I think it's 16.
No. Number 17, thank you, Patrick. Get me out of this,
Patrick can
please.
take over.
We have number 7, second reading for ordinance number 8, series 2019. This is the second reading for the rezoning of certain real estate. It doesn't tell me which one, so can you tell us that?
Certainly. So ordinance 8 of Series 2019 is for the property at the northeast corner of Field and Central, a rezoning request from R3 to C General Commercial. Council did conduct a public hearing on this at your last meeting. The ordinance did pass on first reading, and we are, because there are no changes to the request, we are asking that it be approved on second reading this evening.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Smith?
I move that we adopt ordinance number 8, series of 2019 upon second reading.
Second, Mr. Hammer, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Meisner?
I'm still baffled with, we seemingly had a number of people that were opposed to this project last time. Is that not correct?
We did receive a petition. They brought it forward to Planning Commission, but it was improperly filed. They did not come to the public hearing before council on the 18th.
And they're not here tonight. I just want to clarify that.
Okay. Any more discussion questions? Would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran?
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Okay, number 18 is the second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 9, 2019, entitled an ordinance rezoning certain real property within the city of Canyon City, Colorado. Patrick.
Mr. Mayor, this is for the rezoning request from R2 to OPR, Open Space Parks and Recreation, for property on both sides of South Street, the unbuilt portion of South Street, right where the Cone Avenue right-of-way intersects it. The intent behind this is to rezone it to OPR so that under a conditional use permit, which is permissible under that zoning, the applicant will be able to construct a solar community garden facility.
Okay, any questions of Patrick?
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Smith?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 9, series of 2019 upon second reading.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Meisner?
We're still vacating something, are we not?
I believe the ordinance for the vacation of the section of Cone Avenue will be
Right.
coming forward to council on the 15th,
But not south.
but not
is
South
that-
Street, no.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Cochran.
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Haquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Okay, I have a mess here.
Back to 11.
We're back to, thank you, Ms. Smith. City business plan, and have the city administrator comment on that.
Yes, ma'am, this 2019 business plan will guide the staff's initiatives to accomplish the council's and the community's priorities. Rather than going through them all, we've provided you a highlighted version of your intended revisions from the last meeting, so want to make sure that they meet your requirements. I know Councilmember Meisner had recommended that on page 33, we change the weekly customer reports just to monthly, so we can certainly do that. But are there any other proposed changes that we could make? And then,
I have one. Let's see.
your page.
I can't see the page number.
Yeah, need a different ink.
8, maybe
Yeah.
9?
9, I think, is the...
Number
the little red
21
rock
on
there?
section,
Sure.
okay,
What number?
21.
Okay.
It says revisit bike plan to include a fully painted bike path. We talked about lanes.
Yeah, just the borders.
Just lanes, because the fully painted bike path would probably be out of our budget.
Just lanes, okay.
Yeah, bike lanes, to start.
Lane, okay.
They'd be more cost-effective.
Ms. Smith?
I had 2 recommendations. On page 6, under number 1, on reducing narcotics availability,
Yeah.
at the very end, it talks about the diversion to treatment in coordination with the County Wellness Treatment Court. I'd like to add that we're also expanding the K-9 unit to detect and reduce availability of illicit narcotics.
Okay.
And then on the next page, under technology upgrades, I think we should include the acquisition of body cameras for our police officers.
What number was that, Councilmember?
7.
7.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Is that under police?
Under public safety.
Any others? We'll make these changes and, make it official and then get you the finalized copy and start
Okay.
working on achieving these initiatives.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all your hard work and all the staff that participated in that. It's
Thank
a nice document.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now to the exciting, we get down to the exciting budget stuff, or? See, we stretched this out for Mr. Patel because, what?
13?
13. And because this is your last council meeting, right?
Yes.
Well, this.
Makes us so happy to retire.
This is,
Counting the minutes.
Yeah, I know. Retirement's looking awful good, Harry. I'm kidding. All right. All right, in consideration and adoption by title only of resolution number 6, series 2019, entitled, "A Resolution of the City of Canyon City, Colorado, authorizing a transfer of budgeted funds within the 2019 budget of the City of Canyon City, Colorado." Now, Mr. Patel, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, we identified that there is a need of changing some line item changes within the general fund. And these items has no effect in the fund balance. So we have identified that if that line items on the Schedule A. If you want me to, I can go line by line. Otherwise, it has identified in my memo and the exhibit also. So I'll be happy to answer any question you might have.
We'll be glad to filibuster.
Mr. Meisner.
I'll start. On the line-by-line items, you've got miscellaneous concrete projects. Looks to me like they were decreased by 36,000.
Correct.
What were those projects?
That would be.
So those are sidewalk replacement, and then any other miscellaneous concrete around town, like crossbands, curb and gutter, that sort of thing. So a big part of that is dependent on available time the city crew has to do the work, or contractors, and the amount of requests that we get from citizens to do sidewalk replacement.
And then my second question is, am I right in assuming that the CMAQ projects are the projects where we're paving existing gravel roads?
That's correct.
I was under the impression, and Ms. Smith can maybe reaffirm this, that this year we were not going to do a project, but that money was going to be held so that we had more money for next year with potentially doing the River Street project. Ms. Smith?
Well, for paving gravel streets, I thought we saved that money for 2 years to pave the gravel streets. So
Right.
this one says that.
Right, so we're not building a project this year. Our final construction project is planned for next year.
But the question is that there's a 204,000 transfers.
That is the revenue.
Expected state and local grant revenues for completion of the River Corridor project from canceled CMAQ project revenues.
Right, so it sounds like he's moving match dollars around, right?
Right. What we are doing is this is the grant money, and we are decreasing the grant because we are not going to receive that money this year. And then in offsetting, we are charging to the River Corridor project, 240,000. So 204,000 and 250,000, difference is 45,000. That is the city share, basically.
How much money are we going to have for that project next year?
It'll be 600,000 plus.
And is that because we're taking money from this year and rolling it over?
It's a reimbursement, so we don't actually have the cash. So it's just a promise in an IGA.
Right.
So we budget for it the year we think we're going to do it, but if we don't build it, there's been no money exchanged. So the difference is we have budgeted match dollars that then we can move around to other things.
But don't we need those budgeted max dollars for next year?
Yes, but we won't have the River Corridor project next year.
So they give you a certain number of match dollars each.
Right, it's
year,
83%.
Whether you use it on a paved road or not. Can you only spend that grant money in 2018? Can that be on a 2018
No,
project?
so
or does grant money
we
carry
had
over?
grant monies we didn't spend all of it last year. So that just remains in the let's say grant bank for us to spend in the future.
It doesn't come in.
So it doesn't roll forward in our budget.
It's like in the cloud.
Because we choose not to.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? Then I would ask for a motion and a second.
Well, I do want to, since Jim is a little bit cranky about CMAQ, I have another thing I'm a little bit cranky about too.
Then let's
I
have,
just want to vocalize it.
Okay.
And that's the 63,000 transfer of excess Centennial Park funds that go towards police support services for the Neighborhood Initiative Program. But technically, the Centennial Park project also included Mountain View Park project, and we had gotten a grant funds from the Colorado Soccer Association
17,000.
to fix the soccer field, and that I was expecting that would be done 2019, and instead that money is being spent for Neighborhood Initiative Program instead of taking care of that soccer field now during off-season, and so now we're going to have to piggyback it at the end of 2019 and 20, and we can't sod it till the summer of 2020, so it's going to ruin an entire season for the soccer association. So I'm a little grumpy that that park money is being used for Neighborhood Association instead of fixing that field.
The project has to be broken into two parts because the work in the fall, we have to wait until then to get access to the field. We'll mainly do the grading work with the grant dollars. The balance of the project will be the irrigation system and the sod, and that will take place hopefully the following spring. So even if we had the money, we couldn't do the whole project at that time.
Well, we could have done it in January.
Not sod and grass, you can't.
Anyway,
die.
I just said I wanted to vocalize cranky feelings I was having about that, so I did it.
So, the weather has a direct impact on what we can do and when we can do it.
But by the time we're ready to do that, it's soccer season.
Yeah, unfortunately, the timing is difficult because, yeah, during the times that it's best to sod and irrigate is when you want to be playing.
Well, could we do it in the fall?
Well, that's the thing, is that when we were doing the business plan, it wasn't even included in the business plan. I had to reach out to me and say, hey, what's going on with this project that we spent a lot of time with the rec department and the Colorado Soccer Association to get this grant money for, and it was void and missing from the plan.
No, well,
And so this,
Rex is well aware of the project. He has priced it out. He just unfortunately didn't highlight it in the plan because only a small piece will be done in this fiscal year. So he was waiting to put it in the 2020 plan when the majority of the project will be done.
so I mean, I'm glad it will be done. It's just
Yeah.
not according to the time plan that I
Yeah.
was anticipating and hoping
Yeah.
for.
But,
And that
our
it went to neighborhood
yeah.
initiative program
Yeah.
instead of the.
But the grant specifies as long as the project's done by December 31st, 2020, we're good. And that's our plan.
Any other questions? All right, then, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second. Anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the 2019 city business plan.
No, this
Resolution 6.
resolution.
Oh, my
no, 6.
gosh.
We're on 13.
I just read what was in front of me.
Number 6.
Could you use some coffee?
Have some. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the resolution number 6, series 20 of 19.
Okay, motion's been made.
Second?
Second, Ms. Cochran, discussion of that motion. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran. Aye. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez.
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Okay, number 14, consideration and adoption by title only of resolution number 7, series 2019, entitled Resolution Authorizing Endorsers for Checking, Warrant, Savings, and Investment Accounts. Is that Mr. Patel?
Basically, this resolution does removing my name from the authorized signature and adding Tammy's new finance director as an authorized signature on the check.
Yeah. Staff would recommend you
Basically,
reject it.
that's-
Yeah, if we vote no, does that mean you have to
All right,
stay?
all right, all right. Poor Mr. Patel.
If-
He'll never retire from the city again, so
His
stop.
face.
Effective April 5th.
We can reject it.
Any discussions, any questions of Mr. Hamrick?
Just a quick question, Mr. Administrator.
Yeah.
Your position is a bonded position, is that correct? And city finance director is not, or is?
No, finance director also
It's
bonded.
bonded, yes.
It's also
yes,
bonded.
Yeah.
And so I guess
can't
that's my
go very
question, is
far.
Tammy Nordike bonded?
Is she
Yes.
currently, or will she be? Was that the question?
However,
She
whichever
will be.
one you want to answer.
Yeah, she will be.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Harry's name unfortunately would come off the list and her name will be put on.
Thank you.
That's why
Okay.
we recommend rejecting this measure.
I would then, any other questions? I entertain a motion at this time.
I messed up the last one.
Okay, what the heck, let's get at it.
Mr. Meisner?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Resolution 7, Series 2019.
Second.
Second, made and second. Any discussion on that motion?
Congratulations, Harry. Feel
Thanks.
liberated?
Would
I'm
you call the
gonna
roll,
miss
please?
everybody.
Getting closer.
Councilmember Cochran.
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick.
Maybe. Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez.
Yes.
Councilmember Meisner.
No means he stays?
Yes.
Yes, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
You see what you're leaving with, Harry, don't you? Okay, thank you. Number 15, consideration adoption by title only of resolution number 1 amended.
11.
Is it 10 or 1?
No, you're correct. It's one amended.
1 amended, so I thought. Series 2019 entitled, Resolution by the City of Canyon City, Colorado, establishing guidelines and deleting authority for the transfer of funds between objects and purposes within the city's budget to meet an unexpected and necessary expenditure for any other object or purpose within the city's budget. Mr. Administrator, or was that Mr. Patel?
Let me do this, I want to give this 19 for Harry.
Okay, well, actually, can I kind of, okay. So what you have in your original packet, I would like you to disregard. That is the resolution you passed first. You have a red line copy in front of you. This is the changes that are being suggested tonight, and you have a clean version of that red line resolution in front of you.
Yeah.
And so in Harry's staff report, it kind of lays out exactly what those red lines and what the ordinance that you passed a long time ago and the revised resolution do. So I just wanted to lay out all the documents you have in front of you.
So the first issue, again, we're now dealing with broad budgetary categories for them. For example, personnel costs, supplies, capital. So transfers within each one of those objects will no longer require council approval, but we will report them to you. Transfers between these objects or these major expenditure categories under 5,000 will not require your approval, but we will report them to you. Anything above $5,000 requires your approval. And then we'll provide you quarterly reports, and then the transfers between the different objects of 5,000 above will be subject again to your approval. So anything between these major budgetary areas requires your approval over 5,000. Anything below that, we're going to report you regardless, within those funds or between those funds. So you'll have oversight. Any questions?
Any questions of anyone? And is that monthly, quarterly? I saw.
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yeah.
Any questions? Would you like to change any of that, or? Mr. Meisner? He gives up. Any other questions?
I just see on the amended resolution, it says resolution number 1 of 2019. I think shouldn't it be 11?
No, it should be one.
It's
because we're
one.
amending the one you already technically passed this resolution, and so we're amending it.
This is clarifications of one we did back in January, I think.
February.
February? Okay.
Yeah,
It's been a
earlier.
while.
Okay, I'm going to call for a motion in a second then. This is when someone jumps in and makes a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution Number 1, Series of 2019 as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hamrick. Thank you. Any discussions on that motion? Would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran?
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez? Councilmember Meisner?
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, at this time, we're moving on to number 19, am I correct? 16. Oh, yes, I didn't have that one marked off. Thank you. Number 16 is this is the second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 7, series 2019, entitled an ordinance of the City of Canyon City amending section 15.04.030, section 15.06.030, and chapter 17.20 of the Canyon City Municipal Code concerning issuance of building permits and drainage and stormwater easements. Would you like to recap that, Mr. Administrator, or Mr. Lancaster?
Sure, just a reminder, this is for the easement ask that we will have on development applications in the future to preserve those drainage ways that are of concern. So nothing's been changed or suggested to be changed since the first reading.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Meisner?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve ordinance number 7, series of 2019, more commonly known as the John Hamrick ordinance.
Second.
Okay, made a second. Any discussion on that motion? Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran?
Aye.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
Okay, let's move on to number 19. In consideration of municipal code updating pertaining to ordinance number 10, series 2019, for introduction and first reading by title only, entitled an ordinance of the City of Canyon City appropriating additional sums of money for the city's 2019 budget. Mr. Patel, would you like to get your
Yes.
last shot here?
Thank you. These are the items that requires additional appropriation, and I can go over with you. Very first item is 181,800 That is a grant money, and behavioral health grant that will be received by the police department, that doesn't have any effect on the fund balance. $325,000 was approved by the Royal Gorge Bridge as a committed for the improvement at the bridge. $21,245 that was due for the art center, that we made the commitment. The 3 employees, the directors are going to participate in providing some help, and that is a reimbursement for that 3 employees. $15,000, you just approved the Golden Age Center contract. That will be added to the appropriation. $100,000 for beach crossing improvement in conjunction with the stormwater project. That requires $153,000. You already approved that for a US 50 access plan. And $17,000 for train trestle inspection at the Royal Gorge Bridge. So total of $306,245 that will affect the fund balance. The remaining 2 items, $181,800 and $325,000, has no effect on the unassigned fund balance. In Quality Life Fund, there is $830,000 for the CDOT grant. That is 100% grant, so there is no effect in the fund balance.
Okay.
With that, I recommend approval of these.
Any questions of Mr. Patel? Mr. Hamrick?
So the, our Royal Gorge Park, that is our sinking fund, correct?
Correct.
And it's being reduced from $600,000 to $275,000. And we expect that that fund will be replenished by the increased revenues due to the new attraction?
Every year, we have to add 100,000 until 600,000
Yeah.
each.
We're estimating this first year we'll get about 175,000.
I just wanted that on the record. Thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez?
So I wanted to bring up the voucher program that we just did for trash voucher. And they were gone in a flash. So I had mentioned to Tony that maybe we could see about finding more money to put out more vouchers to help more people in our community.
For this year?
For this year, yeah. And then in following years, increasing that budget.
If you all agree, we can use it out of contingency.
Take it out of Tony's budget.
Ms. Smith?
That's what he's talking about.
I do have a little something to report in our meeting with BLM. We talked about how those vouchers go so quickly, and BLM is looking into seeing if they can acquire some funds to give to the city and county to increase those vouchers, because they recognize that it'd be better to hand out those vouchers and have people take care of their own trash than to be dumping it all on BLM land.
Sure.
Because eventually that's where it seems to end up. So there is an opportunity for additional funding for those vouchers through the BLM.
All right.
Maybe we just ought to put a dumpster up there.
We're talking about a lot of different avenues we have to look at.
Okay. I would like to add money to finish all the trestles that the city owns. The people are going to use them anyway. I think we have a choice and a liability that we need to address. They're going to try and use them anyway. We either tear them down. I don't think any extent or trying to bar people from going, chains, fences, whatever is going to stop that. And for approximately $80,000, we could do the rest of the trestles that the city owns. If you walk those, I believe they should be done rather than torn down. I would like to recommend that we add in the city budget as an amendment. We can.
How much?
Approximately $80,000.
8 or
80.
For what now?
To fix
Complete the final trust.
fix the trestles up there, because right now, if the trestles that are being done by the current property owner and the city leaves the big ones out there at Vista Point, and that's probably the only way they're going to get there, and they're going to go across that trestle, and it could be very dangerous. We walked it, and I honestly don't like spending the money, but I think it needs to be done, either that or we need to remove them, and if you remove them, then you got another problem. So I would like to suggest if we can find the extra funds to contract with the people over there and get a contract with them and finish those. And he said it'd be approximately $80,000. I would like you to consider that. Okay, well,
Is my light showing up?
pardon?
Is my light showing up?
Yes, it is, Ms. Gonzalez. Sorry, thank you. I didn't know they were working.
I didn't know what was working and what's not, okay? So I forgot to say my dollar amount on those trash vouchers. I just want to backtrack a little bit. So $3,000 would provide 200 more trash vouchers to our community. If we could dig up $3,000 to put towards that, that would be
How many did we do?
133.
Yeah.
133 vouchers. So this would more than double. $3,000 would more than double the vouchers to our community.
Are those just to haul a regular thing to the dump? Because one of our conversations was getting rid of tires and TVs is a really big issue.
Yeah, we have a separate little program for that.
Is there
I think
enough for that?
Well, we already went through those.
So we use those all up as well?
Yeah, but we'll do it again next year. I think we did 150 on top of my head, but I'll go back and double check the number, but
So-
for TVs and for tires.
So you might want to consider, instead of just 200 regular vouchers, but maybe splitting them up and doing some of TVs and tires as well.
How much, you don't know the cost on those,
I
would you?
don't recall off the top of my head, but if you just direct us to kind of divide it equally or whatever proportion you want, we'll work that out and promote it.
I just think spring's coming, people are going to be cleaning up. 133 vouchers doesn't go very far. So if we can roll that out sometime in the next couple
mean,
months.
The trash vouchers are clearly the most popular. I mean, they literally fly out of here, you're right. They were all gone in a couple of hours, and people were not happy. And I talked to the county, and they did 200, and they had the same experience, and they want to coordinate with us in the future to hopefully do more.
Well, I think one of the questions was asked, though, is do you track at all how many of those people could not afford to go to the dump without that, or how many they're just really excited to have something for free to
we-
go to the
we
dump, but they
don't-
could have paid the
Yeah.
$15 to go to the dump?
We don't do a means test, but based upon their enthusiasm, they like them.
Do we know how many of those actually get used?
We're assuming all of them. I mean, the way people...
I mean, at the trash,
Yeah.
at the landfills?
Have to double check with them. People seem very sincere about their use and appreciate it, and they're just disappointed in that they're not more. And it does help, as you mentioned, clean up the city, which is a lot better for them cleaning up than us cleaning up or issuing citations for them cleaning it up. So it's more self-serving on our part that we encourage this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we going to direct Mr. Patel or whoever to?
We got
We
we'll
We'll bring that next time, the
Okay.
Tammy Hare ordinance. She
Okay.
will include these items in the next ordinance.
Did we have a motion on 19, is it? Do we need a motion on that, or did we do that already? We need a motion number okay, I need a motion for number 19. Ms. Gonzalez?
I'll try this again. Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we approve, we did this?
No.
Oh,
You're doing so good, go ahead.
that we approve of budget 2019, of 2019 budget appropriation ordinance.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Ms. Alquez. Any discussion on that? Could you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Cochran? Aye. Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner? Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Unanimously carried.
We're all tired.
Okay. Again, thank you, Mr. Patel, for your 22 years of outstanding service, and
you, Harry.
I sincerely hope you enjoy in your new fields, whatever you do.
And
There you go.
thank you for giving me these
Oh,
opportunities
we're thrilled.
and working with us
Yeah.
on everything toward presenting.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question for our attorney. This bumps up against two here, two there. what would happen if we had a meeting and I just happened to walk in? Or is something going to strike me from the air? Can we make
Yes.
can we make this a sanctuary building? That's kind of stuff that's going around. I mean, wouldn't that make sense? I mean, come on, that's kind of antiquated. I know it's the law.
I would suggest that you call your lawmakers up in Denver and ask them to amend the law.
I've had that suggested many times, but
Which they're exempt from.
But I guess the alternative is to say, with the street thing, I would like to say, I can't guarantee all of them, but what happens? And someone's going to say, get out of here, or you can't.
Well, so you're not taking any action in those meetings, so ultimately, there's probably no penalty. And even if let's say you did violate the open meetings law and you did take action, there's no real cure other than to
Sure.
go back into a properly noticed meeting and take the action again. The issue becomes that if someone sues you for an open meetings law violation, they're entitled to attorney's fees. So even though the cure is minor, you might have to pay out a lot of money. And that's the downside. But I guess back to the 2A
Sure.
meetings, I mean, you could notice them. I'm not really sure how much public will show up to individual
No.
property
The
owners.
the only issue with that is meetings with the private property owners, they may not want to disclose their business practices or have those discussions or negotiations in a public meeting.
I agree.
That's
If
the- that's the
somebody
issue.
shows up, that's, yeah.
But those are individual meetings, it's not every
But it
meeting.
goes on public record.
That's what we're talking about.
Well, no, but
the
hang on,
IGA
wait a minute, let me back up and explain myself a little bit better. What I'm suggesting is that if there are indeed meetings with private property owners that need to be confidential, we can just have two people there.
Okay.
But if they're not, if they're just other meetings that we're doing stuff, then we just notice them.
Well, we can notice, so there's a Plan 6 project team meetings. We can notice every single one of those. And you guys can all show up. That's not a big issue.
Yeah.
The main issue is the one-on-one meetings with the property owners.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's okay.
that's fair
So
enough.
you did,
Okay.
Yeah.
So those 6 we're going to, that's the ones I would be more,
Yeah.
the private property owners, for what I do for a living, probably I shouldn't be there, period. But, great, okay.
you did mention item number D, which was removed from the consent agenda. Do we still need to address that tonight? And that was the audit, approving the audit.
No, I think
For
council
2A.
needs to maybe have that in a general government and just decide what the flavor of council is or what the intent of council is and vote on it. And I'll probably be a minority and I can live with it.
Can we just vote on it tonight?
We can get it underway.
What?
Not going to make a change in the outcome.
So, yeah, we talked a lot about this last time, and I think we decided that having 2 separate audits would be sufficient, and I feel comfortable proceeding as is.
Does someone want to make a motion or give direction to staff?
If I recall properly, if you look at the audit from last year, in terms of the practical question of did the funds get spent for 2A, I don't believe that audit does it. And that has absolutely nothing to do with the credibility of Harry. I'm talking about the audit that John Doe Public out there is looking at that doesn't trust us to start with. And we said, we just want to know if the taxes collected were spent appropriately. That's all we want to know.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the 2A Street Improvement Fund audit contract as is written in 8D.
Does everybody understand that? Any questions? Do I have a second?
What's the motion again?
Do we approve it as written in 8D?
As it's presented to us? Okay, I'll second.
Okay, made and seconded. Any discussions? Call a roll, please.
Councilmember Cochran? Aye. Councilmember Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Jaquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Nay?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Just remember when the 2A people show up.
Okay.
It's in the ballot line.
I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Should I adjourn the meeting? You have your finger up. This
No,
is
we're
it.
done. Just remember to come to Harry's reception at
Harry's
2 p.m. on
reception.
Friday.
If it goes any
April the
longer,
5th.
we're going to need a room.
Yeah.
But, so we'll see you the 4th, Friday?
6th.
Sixth? What?
On the 5th.
Everybody's got ice cream, so it's on the 6th.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.